Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session of Plant Kingdom. I welcome you all to this awesome channel called Let's Crack NEET UG in English. I'm Aditi Gupta, your biology mentor, and in today's class, we're going to discuss about pteridophytes. We have already discussed about algae and bryophytes, in our previous lectures. In my today's class, I'll be telling you about the structure, the characters, and the life cycle of pteridophytes. Okay. So, before we begin our today's class, let me introduce myself briefly. Students, my name is Aditi Gupta, and I have been mentoring students for the past 6 years for their NEET UG preparation. And many students of mine are already in their dream medical college. Myself, I myself is a research scientist by profession. I'm here to follow my passion for teaching. I myself have secured an All India rank of 61 in the prestigious GATE examination and have pursued my MTech in Biological Sciences and Bioengineering from IIT Kanpur. Students, as you are well aware of the fact that top minds from all across the country are on this amazing platform called Unacademy. So, in order to get benefit from all those educators, you need to go for Unacademy subscription. So, before we begin for today's class, let me tell you about Unacademy's subscription platform. So, students, this is Unacademy Learning app. You can download it from Play Store. Okay. After installing, click on the plus section, then go to the NEET UG option. As we are all aware of the fact that we are NEET UG aspirants, right? And click on the NEET UG option, then go for Get Subscription. But before you proceed for the subscription procedure, let me first tell you what are the benefits of having an Academy subscription. First of all, student, after downloading the Unacademy Learning app, you can find some absolutely free of cost features, okay, which are really helpful in your preparation. For example, there are absolutely free of cost special classes and quiz feature available through this app. So download this app and go explore these features. These are some of the screenshots of my special classes, which I have conducted on Unacademy Learning app. Okay, you can find me live daily on Unacademy Learning app at 11 a.m. in the morning. Okay, this is my time of special class on Unacademy Learning app. Now, talking about the benefits of having Unacademy subscription. So, students, first of all, there are around 40 plus educators who are available on Plus platform. Okay, for all the subjects physics, chemistry, and biology. So you will be provided, live classes of all the three subjects physics, chemistry, and biology, along with daily doubt clear, regular doubt clearing sessions, right? Students, the best feature is the flexibility. You can select your educator and you can even select your batch based on your understanding and your compatibility. Okay, we have top team of educators from all across the country on board. Okay, students, now the complete NEET UG syllabus, the complete syllabus of the physics, chemistry, and biology will be taught to you in a thorough manner, in a detailed manner. Okay, in a specified time. Okay, and you will be provided with detailed PDF notes. And my dear students, these PDF notes are well researched study material which are been provided to you by the educator itself. Okay, now you have attended the live classes, you have now read the PDF notes. Now what's next? So next is the evaluation part. So you will be evaluated regularly on the basis of these live tests and quizzes features available on board, right? On this basis you will be getting, by participating in these live tests, you will be getting your daily rankings. Okay, and then you can see whether you are improving or not. Okay, and this is how you will be, on this mission of improving yourself and competing among other competitors of the NEET UG preparation examination, right? Last, you will be getting unlimited access to all the NEET UG content. What do I mean by this point? See, there are around 40 plus educators on Plus platform. You don't need to subscribe them individually. With this single subscription, you will be getting access to all the video lectures, okay, their PDF notes, and their personalized test papers with this single subscription itself. Okay, students, so isn't it awesome? Now, the second platform is the Iconic platform, which Unacademy has introduced recently. Okay, so Iconic has or includes all the benefits of Unacademy Plus platform. See, it includes all the benefits of the Plus platform, which I have discussed right now. But what's new in Iconic? First of all, Iconic is a platform where the gap between the student and the educator is filled. How come? You will be provided with your personal coach. You will be provided with personal coach who will be there throughout your NEET UG preparation journey to guide you, to check you that you won't deviate from your path, right? Then you will be getting a study planner. Not only the live classes, not only the the study material or the test. You will be getting a study planner so that you can better utilize or efficiently utilize your time. Okay, and this study planner will be reviewed with the help of bi-weekly meetings. Okay, then students, this feature mark it as important, and this is really important feature in your preparation because it is in-depth test analysis. Not only you will be attempting the test and seeing your ranks, you'll also know what mistakes you are making while attempting the question paper, so that you never repeat those mistakes in the final examination, that is NEET UG examination, because we know that the margin of error is very, very, very low, right? So these are the benefits of Iconic subscription, and apart from that, you will be getting expert guidelines, from time to time. Okay, so these all together, these sessions will be expert guidance. These sessions will help you, okay, in keeping you motivated and enthusiastic. Okay, now moving ahead, what you need to do to perform an academy, to subscribe. So for iconic, if you are a 10 pass out student, then go for 2 year of subscription plan. And if you are a 12 studying or 12 pass out student, then go for 1 year of subscription plan. See, although the fee is 45,000 for 1 year and 61,000 for 2 year, but if you use my referral code AG001, you will be getting an instant 10% discount. So AG001 is my referral code, and if you wish to avail this 10% discount, you can use my referral code. And now you have to pay only rupees 40,500 and rupees 54,900, okay, for 1 year and 2 year respectively. And if you back calculate it on a monthly basis, you will find that this is the cheapest plan available with the top notch quality of education, okay, which you are receiving. Similarly, about the Plus platform, for 1 year, you need to pay rupees 27,000, and for 2 year, you need to pay rupees 32,400 only if you use my referral code AG001 to get an instant 10% discount. Okay, students? One more important announcement from Unacademy. Unacademy Plus subscription prices are going to increase really soon. Okay, so do not wait to miss your chance. Okay, students? Now, come on, let's start our today's class. Today's class will be dealing about pteridophytes. The most confusing part of this particular unit, which most of you found, is the plant kingdom, because mostly you guys get confused in the life cycle part. So we have already discussed the algae and the bryophytes. I'll try to compare each and every types of plants which we are studying over here, so that you are left with no confusion anymore. So talking about pteridophytes, so see, pteridophytes are the reptiles of plant kingdom. We have already studied about the amphibians. Okay, the bryophytes were the amphibians, and we know that the bryophytes were called amphibians because they were present on both the places. They were found on the land, but they needed water for the fertilization, right? So they were the amphibians. But pteridophytes are the first successful land plants. Okay, they are the first successful land plants. Like reptiles, they were the first successful land animals. Similarly, pteridophytes are the first successful land plants. And what is it what makes pteridophytes the first successful land plants? Okay, but mark my word, I'm not saying that pteridophytes are the first land plants. They are first successful land plants. Okay, students? Now, what are the characteristics of pteridophytes? See, students, complete differentiation of plant body has taken place in pteridophytes. Okay, so complete differentiation has taken place. That means we now have true stems, true root, stem, and leaves. Okay, because we have seen in the bryophytes the differentiation process has started. We have seen that the root like, stem like, and the leaf like structure was present, but here true root, stem, and leaves are present. And the vascular system has developed for the very first time in the pteridophytes. So pteridophytes are the first vascular plants. And students, have already told you that while studying the plant kingdom, you must note where a particular event has started. For example, in bryophytes, we have seen that the embryo formation started for the first time, right? Similarly, from pteridophytes, we can say, this can be called as tracheophyte or tracheophyta. Why? Because from these onwards, like from pteridophytes onwards, vascular system will be present. Okay, so pteridophytes, gymnosperm and angiosperm will be coming under tracheophyta. If we talk about embryophyta, so bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperm and angiosperm will be coming under embryophyta. When we'll move ahead and study about the gymnosperm, we'll be seeing spermatophyta. That means the seed-bearing plants, which includes gymnosperm and angiosperm. So these are the terms. Okay. Now, study of pteridophytes is known as pteridology. Okay. And the most important point, my dear student, the main plant body here is the sporophyte. You have heard about this particular term sporophyte in bryophyte itself, right? And but there we know that in bryophytes, the main plant body was haploid in nature, that is the gametophytic plant body, and a sporophyte was completely parasitic on that gametophytic plant body. But here in pteridophytes, what has happened? The complete reversal process has taken place. That means now the sporophyte is the main plant body and sporophyte is diploid in nature. That means the main plant body is diploid in nature. Okay, students? The main plant body is diploid in nature. This particular image is of fern, okay, a type of pteridophyte, which I have included here as a representative image. For example, see, the roots are present, and this rhizome is what? Rhizome is underground horizontal stem, okay, underground horizontal stem, and this frond, it represents a leaf, and it contains what? It contains a petiole, and then leaflets, rachis. Okay, this blade is also termed as rachis. So this particular structure is of a fern, a typical structure of a fern. Roots are normally, adventitious roots because they are present on the rhizome. Okay, so the true root, what happens? They degenerate and it is replaced by adventitious root. Okay, it is normally adventitious. Now, moving ahead. As I've already discussed that the vascular system is present here, so we know that xylem and phloem are the two types of vascular bundles present, right? Xylem is involved in the process of water conduction and phloem is involved in the process of food conduction. And we know it is an example of complex permanent tissue, right? We have already studied about this particular part in anatomy. So see, xylem includes vessels, right? Tracheids, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. Similarly, phloem includes sieve tubes, sorry, companion cells, okay, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma, okay. So I have listed all the types, all the components of xylem and phloem because in pteridophytes not all the components are present. Talking about xylem, so vessels or tracheae, this vessels is also known as tracheae. Don't get confused with this tracheae and tracheids, okay? So vessels or tracheids is absent in case of xylem, whereas sieve tubes and companion cells are absent in case of phloem. In place of sieve tubes, what's present? Sieve cells are present. Sieve cells are present in place of sieve tube. Okay, so vessels in xylem and sieve tubes or companion cell in phloem is absent. But yes, pteridophytes are the first vascular plants. And the development of the vascular tissue helped them in making or becoming the first successful land plants. Okay, students? Now, talking about the type of vascular bundle. Mostly you studied this part in the anatomy chapter, but I have included this part here itself so that you can study the complete properties of pteridophytes here itself and you won't get confused. Okay, so talking about the vascular bundle, see the xylem and phloem, the type, the position, how they are present in the pteridophytes. So what happens? In pteridophytes in general, xylem is present in the center position and is surrounded by the phloem from all the side. Okay, and this type of arrangement of xylem in the center surrounded by the phloem is known as heterocentric type of vascular bundle. This is heterocentric type of vascular bundle. Hetero is for xylem. Hetero term is for xylem. So xylem is present in the center. So this is heterocentric. Okay, and we know that when the cambium is absent, in the vascular bundle, then the vascular bundle is termed as closed vascular bundle, right? So the cambium here is absent, therefore secondary growth will not be found. secondary growth will not be found in the pteridophytes. Secondary growth will be absent. Right? So heterocentric is xylem present in the center and closed vascular bundle because and therefore secondary growth will not be found. And this type of vascular bundle is known as concentric vascular bundle. This type of vascular bundle is known as concentric vascular bundle. Okay, so we have seen that pteridophytes, the plant body of pteridophyte is completely differentiated. It contains vascular bundle. The type of vascular bundle is concentric, where two concentric rings are present. Xylem is present in the center, surrounded by the phloem, therefore heterocentric. Okay, and cambium is present, absent. Vascular cambium is absent, therefore secondary growth is also absent. Okay, so now pteridophytes, also do not contain all the components of the xylem and phloem. Now, moving ahead, let us discuss the type of leaves. See, pteridophytes are basically classified into two categories on the type of the leaves present. They can either be called microphyllous. Okay, micro is a small, phyllis is for leaf. Okay, that means those pteridophytes which possess a small leaf and larger stem. Example will be equisetum and lycopodium. Similarly, megaphylous. Mega is large, phyll is leaf. Okay, so those pteridophytes which contain large leaf as compared and smaller stem. Example becomes, the ferns, the pteridium, pteris, or marsilia. Okay, so ferns are the classical example of the megaphylous types of pteridophytes. Okay, students. Now, moving ahead. See, the leaves which are present on the pteridophytes can be classified into two types based on the function they are performing. For example, those leaves which are performing the function of photosynthesis are known as tropophills. Okay, so tropophills are photosynthetic in nature. Okay, now there are certain leaves which are producing the sporangiums. What's the sporangiums? The sporangiums are the bag which will be containing bag like structure, which will be containing spore mother cells, and by the process of meiosis in these spore mother cells, spores will be produced. Right, so those leaves which are involved in the process of formation of sporangias are termed as sporophylls. That means sporophylls are the reproductive leaf. Sporophylls are the reproductive leaf. Okay, and tropophills are the photosynthetic leaf. Okay, now what happens? See, the sporangia are formed on the abaxial surface of the sporophylls, on the back surface. Okay, so the sporophylls are present on the abaxial surface of the sporangia, abaxial side, right? And the group of sporangia, see, this image is of pteridophyte. So this group of sporangia is termed as sorus. This group of sporangia is termed as sorus. Okay, and plurally it is referred as sori. Okay, so sporophyll contains sporangia. Sporangia will be containing spore mother cells, and by the process of meiosis in those spore mother cells, spores will be produced. And the cluster of sporangia is termed as sorus, and these sorus in the plural form is referred to as sori. Okay, as you can see the image here, these individual structures are the sorus, and all together they are termed as sori. So they are present on the abaxial surface of the leaf, and this particular leaf is the sporophylous leaf. Okay, or the reproductive leaf. Now, what happens in advanced pteridophytes? There is no such differentiation of the staurophyll, of the tropophyll, or the sporophyll. Okay, all the type of leaf they produce, they bear these spores. Okay, now most of the pteridophytes, they are homosporous. What is this homosporous, students? See, by homosporous I mean that they will be producing the similar type of spores. Okay, they will be producing identical spores, similar spores. None of these spores will be different. So most of these spores, pteridophytes are homosporous in nature. But yes, some exceptions are there in the nature. Some pteridophytes are heterosporous in nature. And by heterosporous, that means they will be producing two types of spores. One will be microspores. Okay, micro is the small spores, and second will be the megaspores or the macrospore, that is the large spore. Okay, this microspore will be responsible for the formation of male gametophyte. Responsible for the formation of male gametophyte. Similarly, the megaspore will be responsible for the formation of female gametophyte. And my dear students, you know that the gametophyte are the gamete bearing structures. Are the gamete bearing structures? That means, you know, by the germination of these spores, the gametophytic generation begins. Okay, and when the condition is heterosporous, so that means male gametophyte and female gametophyte will be different, because microspores will be producing male gametophyte and megaspores will be producing female gametophyte, and this condition is termed as dioecious condition. Dioecious conditions, how come? What, we already know the term dioecious, that means when male and female reproductive structure are present on different thallus, and vice versa, the monoecious condition, when the male and the female reproductive organ are present on the same thallus. What happens in homosporous condition? In homosporous condition, generally monoecious condition is found. That means after, upon germination, the spore produces gametophyte, and that single gametophyte will be bearing both male and female reproductive organ. But in case of heterosporous condition or heterosporous pteridophytes, dioecious condition is found. Okay. Example becomes Selaginella and Salvinia. Okay, students. Now, moving ahead, I have told you that upon germination, spores produces gametophytic generation, and we term the gametophyte of pteridophyte as prothallus. So, prothallus is the name given to the gametophyte of pteridophyte. And for your kind information, this particular feature here is really important, because here you will be seeing some unique characteristics. And what's that unique characteristics? In pteridophytes, these spores, they germinate on the soil. They germinate on the soil. Okay, that means they are detached from the sporophytic plant body. These spores are germinating on the soil and are producing prothallus on the soil itself. Okay, and this prothallus is not dependent upon the sporophytic plant body. Okay, that means this prothallus is independent or free living in nature. This prothallus is what? It is independent or free living in nature. Remember bryophytes? What happened there? We saw that the gametophyte was the dominant generation, and sporophyte was developing after the through the development in the zygote, right? And that particular sporophyte was completely dependent or parasitic on the gametophytic plant body. But here, what happens in the pteridophytes? The sporophytic plant body is the dominant body, and the spores, they are germinating outside the plant body, right? They are present, they are germinating on the soil, and upon germination, they are producing a gametophyte which is prothallus, and it is independent. But this point is really important, that prothallus is non-vascular in nature. Okay, and that is why they need to be grown, or they need moist or damp surrounding to grow. Okay, they are inconspicuous small structure, and they need moist or damp environment to grow, and that is why the growth of pteridophytes is restricted to certain environmental conditions. Okay, or remember, in plant kingdom, the gametophytes are always non-vascular. This is an important point. In plant kingdom, the gametophytes are always non-vascular. Do not or never get confused with the language of the question, right? Now, see, this particular image is of the prothallus. Okay, this heart-shaped structure, this is a gametophyte of pteridophytes. And gametophyte means gamete-producing structure or gamete-bearing structure. So it contains rhizoids, okay, root-like structure. Rhizoids are present, which helps it in attaching to the substratum, okay. Then, antheridia, that is the male sex organ, and archegonia, that is the female sex organs, are formed on the same thallus. That means this condition becomes monoecious condition. Condition becomes monoecious conditions, right? And antheridia will be producing antherozoids, that is the male gamete, and archegonia will be producing the egg cell, that is the female gamete. Okay, so antheridium and archegonium are formed in the prothallus itself. Now what happens? The antherozoids, they are spiral and multiflagellate. They are spiral and multiflagellate. In bryophytes, we have seen biflagellatic condition, but here it is multiflagellate condition, and egg cell is present in the archegonium. Again, the syngamy is of oogamous type. That means the female gamete is large and immotile, whereas the male gamete is small and motile in nature. This type of syngamy is known as oogamous type of condition, and we have seen the same condition in bryophytes also. Okay. Now let us have a look of the life cycle, and then we will decide that what should be the, what should be termed to the life cycle. Okay. So let us draw the life cycle first. So what happens? I have already told you that the main plant body of pteridophyte is sporophyte. Okay, so sporophyte is diploid in nature. Now this sporophyte will be producing the sporophylls, that is the reproductive leaf. And in these sporophylls, what happens? Spore mother cells will be present, and by the process of meiosis, and this meiosis is sporic meiosis. By the process of meiosis, spores will be produced, and these spores will be haploid in nature. These spores will be, let me change the color once again because the generation is changing. These spores will be what? These spores will be haploid in nature. So now, because of the reduction division, haploid generation has started. Okay, and considering the homosporic condition, because most of the pteridophytes are homosporous in nature, that means they produce identical types of spores. Now these spores, they germinate on the soil, that is outside, they become detached from the sporophytic body and they germinate on the soil, and upon germination these spores produce a structure which is known as prothallus. This particular structure is prothallus, and prothallus is what? Prothallus is the gametophyte. Prothallus is the gametophyte. It contains this rhizoids, which helps in attaching it to the substratum. Okay. Now this prothallus, again, it is developed from the haploid spore. Therefore, it will also be a haploid structure, and it will be bearing, male and female gametes. So what happens? Antheridium and archegonium are formed. So example, this becomes, let us assume this is an archegonia and this is an antheridia. This is an antheridia. Okay. So antheridia and archegonia are formed on the prothallus. Now the gametes will be produced. Gametes are always haploid. So egg cell will be produced and antherozoids will be produced. Multiflagellate spiral condition. Antherozoids. Okay. Now what happens? The process of fertilization, needs water. Again, not only bryophytes, pteridophytes are also dependent on water for fertilization, and that is why, the growth condition of the prothallus and the requirement of water for fertilization makes pteridophytes restricted to be present around the water bodies in a damp environment condition, right? So what happens is antherozoids, they take help of the water, and with the help of water they swim and reaches to the archegonia where they find the egg cell and the process of syngamy takes place. Okay, and again, when the male gamete reaches to the female gamete with the help of water, this condition is known as zoidogamous condition. Okay, as we have seen in bryophytes and also we are seeing in the pteridophytes. So zoidogamous condition is present, and with the fusion of male and female gamete, a diploid structure is formed, and this diploid structure, my dear students, is termed as, zygote. So this diploid structure is zygote. Okay, and now zygote will divide by mitosis, results in the formation of embryo. We have already seen this process for the first time in bryophytes, and now this embryo will develop into sporophyte. Now this embryo will develop into sporophytic plant body. So this is how the life cycle of pteridophyte is completed. Now see, there are excuse me, there are certain part of the life cycle which is undergoing, in the diploid phase, which is present in the diploid phase. Then the certain part of the life cycle is conducting itself in haploid phase. Okay, so diploid and haploid, both the generations are present, and that too in a multicellular phase. Okay, so this type of life cycle is known as diplohaplontic. I've already told you that while drawing the life cycle, the dominant phase is always represented on the top side of the life cycle. We have mentioned that the pteridophytic dominant body is a sporophyte, and see, that's why sporophytic plant body is mentioned on the top side of the life cycle. So this type of life cycle is diplohaplontic type of life cycle, right? On the other hand, we have seen in bryophytes the haplodiplontic type of life cycle, right? Now, what happens? The prothallus is the gametophytic generation, right? It represents the gametophytic generation. So alternation of generation is definitely present because the diploid is, followed by haploid, then diploid, then haploid. That means the alternation of generation is present. But here a unique feature comes, that is the independent alternation of generation. Independent alternation of generation. What is independent alternation of generation? The sporophyte and gametophyte are not dependent upon each other. And this is the unique feature of pteridophytes. You will not be finding this particular feature anywhere else. We have seen in bryophytes that the sporophyte was completely dependent upon the gametophyte. From pteridophytes onward, the main plant body will be sporophyte. Okay, and we will be seeing that the gametophyte in the higher plants is getting dependent on the sporophyte more and more. In angiosperms, you will see that the gametophyte is highly reduced in nature and is entirely dependent upon the sporophyte. So, independent alternation of generation is a unique character of pteridophytes. Okay, so this is an important point. Now, moving back, I have already listed it here also. So, see this particular life cycle. This is a diploid generation. This is a mature sporophyte. By the process of meiosis, it will be producing spores, and these spores will germinate into prothallus, which is a gametophyte. And both male and female sex organs will be formed, and male gametes antherozoids and female gamete egg cell will be formed, and with the help of water fertilization takes place. The process is known as zoidogamy. Okay, and then after fertilization the zygote divides by mitosis, results in the formation of embryo, and this embryo develop into a sporophyte. So this is how the life cycle of pteridophyte is completed. I hope each and every point is crystal clear to you. Okay, now moving ahead, pteridophytes are divided into four classes, and the name of those four classes are Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, and Pteropsida. Okay. Talking about the Psilopsida, so all the, this is the most primitive class of the pteridophytes. Psilopsida is the most primitive class of the pteridophytes. Okay. Let me change the color first. So this is the most primitive class. Okay. And most of the plants are already dead. Okay, the only living genus is the Psilotum and is also referred as living fossil. Okay, so this particular image is of the Psilotum, and you can see these yellow pockets. These are the sporangiums, right? But talking about the Lycopsida, they are also referred as club moss. Okay, so Lycopsida, sometimes what happens in Lycopsida, they contain a cone or a strobilus like structure. What's a cone? So these sporophylls, they assemble around the axis and at the top of the stem axis, right? And that particular structure is known as strobilus. Okay. Example is Lycopodium. It is medicinal plant, or a variety of homeopathic medicines are being formed with the help of this Lycopodium. Another very famous example is the Selaginella, the heterosporous pteridophytes. Remember? It is also known as resurrection plant, okay, or bird's nest moss. Okay, what happens? Why is it known as the resurrection plants? Because in dry condition, Selaginella, it loses all its water and it folds itself in a ball-like structure, and it passes the unfavorable condition in that particular phase only. Upon you know, upon reaching of the moist condition, or in the when the moisture condition is sufficient in the atmosphere, what happens? They re-roll back and propagate in a normal manner. Okay, so Selaginella is also known as resurrection plant. Selaginella bryopteris. Selaginella bryopteris is the most famously known as Sanjeevani booty. Sanjeevani booty. Although the medicinal property of this particular plant is not quite known, but it is referred as Sanjeevani booty. This Selaginella bryopteris. Okay. Now, talking about the third class is the Sphenopsida, also commonly known as the horsetail. Okay. So what's famous in horsetail? So first of all, the silica is present on the epidermis of the plants of the horsetail. Okay. So what happens? You must have heard about various cases of forest fires. Okay. So what happens? This silica which is present on the epidermis of these plants, upon rubbing of two plants structure together, what happens? The fire is generated, and which is the common cause of forest fire. Which is the common cause of forest fire. Okay, so example is equisetum. It also contain a cone or a strobilus like structure in the apical part. As you can see, this images of equisetum, and the branches which are showing over here is present in the node region, and this particular structure is the cone or the strobilus condition. Okay, talking about the most advanced type of pteridophytes are the Pteropsida. Most advanced, okay, or the largest class of the pteridophyte is the Pteropsida. Okay, ferns are included here. The image which I have shown in the very first slide is that of the fern. Okay. Now, fern has, ramenta. What's ramenta? Ramenta are hair-like structure which are found in leaf and young stem. Leaf and young stem. Okay. So, ramenta are what? Hair-like structure. And they are present for the purpose of protection. They are present for the purpose of protection. Some very famous examples which I've included over here, I've included all the examples from the pteridophytes which will be encountering in your biology NCERT. For example, the pteridium, Ophioglossum. Ophioglossum is famous because it contains the highest number of chromosomes. See, 1260 is the number of chromosomes, okay? Talking about Adiantum, it is also known as walking fern. Why is it termed as walking fern? Because it propagates vegetatively with the help of its leaf. Okay, and it propagates very fast with the help of its leaf, and that is why it is termed as walking fern. Azolla, aquatic fern, also known as biofertilizer. If you grow azolla with rice crop, it increases its productivity to many folds. It is because the blue green algae Anabaena is found to Anabaena is found to be associated with the azolla. Right now, Salvinia or water moss is also included in the Pteropsida class of pteridophytes. Okay, students. So this was all about the pteridophytes, properties, structure, and life cycle. Now, as usual, let us see what NCERT has on account about the pteridophytes. Okay, so see, pteridophytes includes horsetails and ferns. I've already said that horsetails are the Sphenopsida. They are used for medicinal purposes, yes, and soil binders because they will prevent the soil erosion. Okay, now they are also used as ornamental plants because the fern, especially the fern, it has a feather like appearance. It has what? A feather like appearance, and due to which it is mainly used in the process of ornamentation. You must have seen it in a bouquet or in a flower, that sort of thing. Okay, now evolutionary, they are the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues, right? They are the first plant to possess vascular tissue. Okay, and they are found in cool, damp, and shady places. Okay, now they may also flourish in a sandy soil conditions. Yes, they may also flourish, but here it is saying that the bryophytes dominant phase was the gametophyte, but here in pteridophytes this is for the first time in the history of plant kingdom that the main plant body is a sporophyte, and which is differentiated into true root, stem, and leaves. Okay, so and they also contain well differentiated vascular tissues. Now, on the basis of leaves, pteridophytes are of two types. Microphylls, where the leaves are small. Example, Selaginella. Or macrophylls, where the leaves are large. Example, ferns. Okay. Now, the sporophytes bear sporangia. Okay, and these sporangia are present in a leaf-like structure which is known as a sporophyll. I have told you that sporophylls are the reproductive leaf which will be bearing the sporangia. Okay, and in some cases, like we have seen in the Lycopsida and in the Sphenopsida, in some cases sporophylls may form a distinct compact structure. Okay, the sporophylls are not scattered throughout the plant body. They are present in a distinct compact cone like structure which is known as strobili. Example, in Selaginella, Selaginella was present in Lycopsida. Example, Equisetum present in Sphenopsida. Okay, students. Excuse me. Now what happens? The sporangia produces spores by meiosis in spore mother cells. Okay, and the spores germinate to give rise to inconspicuous, that means not clearly visible, small but multicellular and free living, mostly photosynthetic prothallus. And what's prothallus? Prothallus is the gametophyte of pteridophyte. Okay, so what's mentioned about the prothallus? Prothallus is a small, inconspicuous, okay, and multicellular but free living. Okay, and mostly photosynthetic, and that is why it is free living in nature. But is it vascular? No, it is non-vascular in nature. It is non-vascular in nature. Now, these gametophytes require cool, damp, shady places to grow. Okay, and that is why I have told you that because of this specific restricted requirement and the need of water for fertilization, the spread of living pteridophytes is limited, okay, and restricted to narrow geographical regions. You will not encounter pteridophytes like just like everywhere, okay, because of these requirements or these growing requirements of the prothallus and the need of water for fertilization. Okay. Now, the gametophytes, they bear male and female sex organ, antheridia and archegonia. And water is required for the transfer of antherozoids. That means the process is zoidogamous condition. Okay, zoidogamy is there. And upon fusion takes place in the archegonium, and upon fusion, zygote is formed. And this zygote produces a well differentiated sporophytic plant body, which is the dominant phase of pteridophytes. Remember. Okay, and see, in majority of the pteridophytes all these spores are of similar kinds, that means homosporous condition, but in Selaginella and Salvinia two kinds of spores are produced, macro or megaspores, or micro or small spores, right? So macrospores will be producing female gametophyte, and mega and microspores will be producing the male gametophyte. I've already discussed about these points. Now student, these particular lines which are written over here is really important. See, first I'll read and then I'll explain. Here it is mentioned that excuse me, the female gametophyte in these plants are retained on the parent sporophytes for variable period. This variable term is really important. The development of the zygote into young embryos take place within the female gametophyte, and this event is a precursor to the seed habit, considered an important step in evolution. So see what happens. Here it is saying that the sporophyte produces a spore. The sporophyte, it produces spores, and spores upon germination produces what? Gametophyte. Okay, so here what it is saying, that in the case of heterosporous condition, when it is it is megaspore, suppose it is megaspore, this megaspore will give rise to female gametophyte, and this female gametophyte is attached to this sporophytic plant body. It is not developing independently on the soil. It is present where? It is present, it is attached to this sporophytic plant body, and you know it will be bearing the egg cell, the female gamete, and the fertilization will be taking place in the archegonia where the egg cell is present. And after fertilization, like after the antherozoids reaches here, after the fertilization process is completed, the zygote will be formed, and zygote will be dividing mitotically to give rise to embryo. Okay, and all these processes taking place in the female gametophyte, and female gametophyte is attached to the sporophytic plant body, right? But what happens here, this attachment, that means this female gametophyte is present on the sporophytic plant body on for variable period of times. That means it is not constant. It is not constant that throughout the process of development the female gametophyte will be attached to the sporophytic body. No, it is present for variable period of time and then it shed off, right? So what it is saying, that this habit, this event is the precursor of the seed habit. For seed formation we need, the first condition should be the heterospory condition. The first condition becomes the heterospory condition, and the second condition is that the female gametophyte should be present on the main sporophytic plant body. So these are the two conditions that are needed for the process of seed formation, right? The first condition is the heterospory, and second condition is the female gametophyte must be present on the sporophytic plant body. Here in pteridophytes, we are encountering both these steps, but in a variable way. Okay, so some of them do contain heterosporous condition, but what happens, the female gametophyte is not attached to the sporophytic plant body throughout the process of development, and that is why the seed formation process is not taking place in the pteridophytes. Okay, now excuse me, the pteridophytes are further classified into four classes. Psilopsida, example is the Xylotum, only living fossil. Lycopsida, example Selaginella and Lycopodium. Sphenopsida, Equisetum, and Pteropsida, Dryopteris, Pteris, and Adiantum, or walking fern. Okay, let us see the example images. A, this one is the Selaginella. Equisetum, see, this is the strobilus or cone. Assembly of the sporophylls, right? Node region contains the branching, right? Rhizome is the horizontal underground stem, and it contains the roots which are adventitious root. These roots are what? Adventitious root, because these are being formed from the stems, adventitious roots. Okay, now this is fern and this is salvinia or water moss. So students, this was about the entire the entire detail of the pteridophytes. I've tried to include all the possible examples which we'll be studying about from this particular class, in the entire biology textbook, right? I'm sure that yes, none of the question will be asked beyond this. I have tried to cover every possible thing, considering considering NCRT as the base, taking NCRT as the base. Okay, so do not miss to make your own handwritten personal notes, because they are definitely gonna help you during your last moments of NEET UG preparation, right? They will be working your go-to handy notes, right? Again, before leaving, let me tell you that I'm live daily at 5 p.m. on Let's Crack NEET UG in English, okay? And also at 11 a.m. on Unacademy Learning app. The link for my Unacademy Learning app profile is provided on the description box. Do follow me there to get all the updates regarding my lectures. And also, students, if you are preparing for NEET UG examination and you want the best available guidance from all across the country, and that too sitting from at the safest corner of your home, do not miss to subscribe for Unacademy Plus or Unacademy Iconic subscription. And also, to avail an extra 10% discount on your course fee, do not forget to use my referral code AG001. I repeat, AG001 is my referral code to get an extra 10% discount. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.